on here, and then once they can hear me good, we'll be all good. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. We're back live on YouTube as well. Okay. So perfect. Now, YouTube chat, once you guys get in here, obviously it's going to take them a second to get in here. But once the YouTube chat gets in here, I just want to make sure that they're hearing stuff good. I think I honestly just had to restart my computer and everything's all good. Anyways, welcome to the show. Welcome back for those of you who were here on time. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we're going to get to it now. Everything's all good. I'm pretty sure it's fixed. And like Nate said in the YouTube chat, that it's all good now. Okay, so I'm happy. You guys know I'm a stickler for the details. So even if it's just a voice thing, I have to fix it. It's compulsive disorder. I have to fix it. It cannot be bad. Okay. So today we are going to be discussing why are you trying to change your relationships? Not just the one, but all of them in general. Okay. And I want us to get a very clear understanding of this because we all do it, guys and girls, and whatever you identify as. And it actually works against us in a lot of ways, right? Because the reality of it is, and you guys always hear me tell you this, and it's because I learned this myself, right? Naturally, when you're in a relationship or when you're just, getting to know people, we'll call it in the talking stage, whatever you want to call it, the early stages, you naturally want things to go your way and in the way that you envision them going. Okay? We all have a particular way that we want our lives to go and that we want our relationships to go. And there's nothing wrong with knowing what you want. But in the process of knowing what you want, you have to also acknowledge that there are so many outside factors, right, that will also determine what ends up happening, even in your relationship. So yes, you might want a particular partner a particular way, and that's fine. But then you have to do the job of learning the people that you're going on these dates with, that you're meeting, that you're going out with, that you're in these talking stages with, to identify, are you the person I'm looking for or not, right? You're not trying to change someone into the person you're looking for. You're looking for someone who fits the criteria of the person you are looking for. You understand what I mean? Does that make sense? If you have a personal question for me, you can ask it to me on Instagram. I only do questions as it relates to the topic. Okay. So today we're talking about why are you trying to change your relationship, right? And it's very important that we all understand, like I just said, learning people is the key to your relationships. The more you try to change people, the less you will see them for who they are. Okay? And the more unhappy you will be. So naturally, like Mixed Chicks just asked in the chat, naturally, I'm sure your next question will be, okay, so how do I change that? How do I stop trying to change and fix my relationships and just accept people for who they are? I'm going to discuss that as well as letting you know the different aspects that lead to you having this compulsion to want to change people into what you want them to be, because at the end of the day, when you try your hardest to do that, they end up unhappy and you also end up unhappy and unsatisfied. So it's like a lose-lose for everyone. So the better option is to figure out how to learn people, understand them, and then make a decision on whether or not that is the relationship for you. Okay, so let's get started with number one. The number one thing, this is not in any particular order, but the number one thing contributing to the fact that you're always trying to change your relationships, even to your own detriment and to the detriment of your relationship. Number one, we have unhappiness. Okay? When you can't seem to be happy with your partner or yourself, you begin searching for what needs to change in your relationship externally or with the other person, rather than looking inward. And every option that partner could choose or make feels like the wrong option. Okay. So the example I want to give so that you guys can better understand what it is I mean, right? For example, let's say you're in a relationship with a guy and you want him to open up more. Okay. You want to get him to be someone who's like an open book that will tell you all his secrets. He'll come out of his shell. He'll let you know how his day was. He'll let you know how he felt yesterday. He'll let you know how angry or upset he was that his poop came out a little bit harder than it did the day before, right? You want him to share with you everything, right? But at the same time, when he finally does share with you some things about himself and he does try and open up with you, you find yourself still unhappy at the aspect that even though now he might be opening up to you, now you don't feel like you got a chance to really talk about yourself, or that he never ask about you. And so it's a vicious cycle. Not that there's anything wrong with either of those, but it becomes a vicious cycle where there is a constant train of just unfulfillment and unhappiness. Right? Elena said it perfect. You see, you guys are thinking just like me. Oh my God, I just want to squeeze your brain. Exactly. Or you don't like what he says, right? And you find yourself in a place where anything someone does makes you unhappy or unsatisfied or unfulfilled. And so what happens then? You constantly are trying to say, okay, I'm still unhappy. So let's change this because that's the thing that about you, because that's the thing that's going to make me happy in this relationship. You changed it, but I don't really like it. Let's change this. That's the thing that's going to make me happy and fulfilled in this relationship. Oh, actually, you changed it, but I thought it would help, but it didn't really help the way I thought it would help. Let's change this instead. And so you're running around like a dog chasing after its tail, trying to change your relationship and change your partner into something that you feel, okay, this one thing that I change about them is the thing that's going to make this relationship work. And in reality, it never does. One, because people only change when they want to change, not because you force them to change. And two, right, for the most part, people are who they are when you met them, especially for those of us, I mean, most of us in here, I would hope, are adults. If you're under 20 years old, like I said, go read your books and go study the Pythagorean theorem. Don't be in here watching me, right? But for all the rest of us who are also meeting grown adults, those people are pretty much hardened in cement in their personality with their upbringing, their childhood, just the way they act, the way they respond, which is fine. But the idea that those people, those grown adults, are going to drastically change and do a 180 is quite unrealistic. And it just doesn't happen. Okay. And so if you are unhappy with the person you're in a relationship with, there is no amount of energy you can put towards trying to change them that is going to bring you happiness or fulfillment. I have here happiness, unhappy / unfulfilled because they're kind of interchangeable and they're one and the same, because it's the same idea. No matter what your partner could do, when you're in the mindset where you're trying to change the relationship to see something differently because you want something different in the relationship, there is no amount of change that ever actually makes you satisfied when you're truly unhappy or when you're truly unfulfilled. And so I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, well, how do I get happy in my relationship? How do I get happy in my relationship? Well, you have to understand the job of being happy in your relationship starts with identifying what your happiness in the relationship even is, which means identifying what you need from a man or a woman, right? Meaning the way you want them to treat you, the way you need the dynamic to be, understanding your own personality and character traits and what works best with that. Obviously, those are things that you learn over time, right? But you build together this list, or the wish list as I call it, of the things that you need and require for a relationship. And the reason that wish list is so important and it becomes like your Bible is because when you go out into the real world, when you go out on your dates, when you go out and you meet these people, you need to have something to refer back to as to, okay, this is what I'm looking for. So let me take the rest of this time to learn and understand you so that I can identify if you're fitting the criteria of what I am looking for. Are you guys following what I'm saying so far? Is that making sense? Right? Am I making sense to you? Or are you guys like, what? I don't get it. How does this work? What's the point of this? Right? You want to be identifying people for what they are. And the thing about it is, I know you are all women and you guys want to be feminine women, and there's nothing wrong with that. Being feminine woman is amazing, but don't get femininity confused with a lack of clarity, or femininity confused with like confusion, that you should be confused or not know what you want, and you should wait for the man to tell you what you want because you're in your feminine state. There's absolutely nothing wrong with knowing what you want in a partner, in a romantic partner, right? In a boyfriend and a husband, so that you can identify that if it's happening, and you can also identify that if it's not happening. Because when you wait around and you allow yourself to be confused and you are hoping that the man will show you something, what happens is, rather than analyzing and learning the person for what they are, you just let time pass and you don't actually give yourself the space and the time to put your energy into thinking, okay, is this working for me? Is this working in the direction that I want it to work? Because then what happens when you're not thinking that, the relationship goes on and you become more invested and more invested and more invested. But then you quickly realize that there are a lot of aspects in the relationship that don't work for you. And I'm not just talking about small little things that you can get over. I'm talking about major aspects of the relationship or the person that don't work for you. Okay. Sophia just got into the chat. She said, what's the topic today? Today's topic is, why are you trying to change your relationships? Okay. For anyone else that asks in the future, SH or Cerise, I don't know if Brianna's here, but please let them know in the chat. So today's topic is, why are you trying to change your relationship? Okay. Very important, because that, these are the type of things, when I talk about looking inward, you have to be so protective and understanding of your own feelings, right? And be aware of what you think and what you feel and what your thoughts are authentic to you. Not what someone else feels, not what your boyfriend feels about the relationship, not what your best friend feels about what do you feel about the relationship, and is this working for you? These are things you need to be identifying right away. As soon as you meet someone, you need to be identifying, is this working for me or is this not? Because you don't want to find yourself in a place where now you're established in this relationship and now you're trying to change the person into someone that they are not and they have never been, because you'll continue to feel unhappy and unfulfilled and even unsatisfied as you continuously try to put your energy into changing someone rather than doing the job at the beginning of learning and understanding them. That doesn't mean you have to accept crumbs. That doesn't mean you have to accept less than you think you deserve. But what you should be doing is paying attention to those character traits, those qualities, how someone carries themselves, how they talk to you, how they act, how they react, how they respond. All of that stuff you should be paying careful attention to at the beginning, so you don't find yourself in a long-term relationship where you're sitting back and saying, all right, I don't like how any of this is working or going, and I'm going to do my best to make it change into the way that I want it to, even though I know that that person is most likely not willing to change anything about them. Okay. Sky says, yeah, I'm tired of getting the bare minimum. Right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You should get way more than the bare minimum. But what happens is, when your mind's not on what you need at the beginning, you find yourself in a place where afterwards the relationship has gone on for quite some time or even months, and now you guys are together. You're sitting here thinking, gee, I'm getting less than the bare minimum. How can I change that? How can I change the situation? How can I change this person? But the reality of it is, you're never going to change that person. And and this is why it's a really important topic for what I know a lot of you guys are going through, because a lot of you are in places where you're talking to someone or seeing someone and you're thinking to yourself, you guys even ask me questions. He does this. He acts like this. How do I change it? He does this, or he talks to me like this. He disrespects me. How do I change it? Right? He doesn't want to take me. He doesn't want to take me out and this and that. He doesn't want to be a good boyfriend. He doesn't want to be honest. He lies. He cheats. How do I change it? But the reality of it is the energy shouldn't have been focused on how to change it after the fact. The energy should have been focused on identifying who he was while you were getting to know him, and then making a decision and really being honest with yourself, like, okay, this is not going to work for me. I need to focus my time and energy in the right place with the right people that I don't feel the need to change. So if you find yourself in a relationship with someone and the only thing you can think about is all the different ways you need to change them in order to make the relationship work, then I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you're probably in the wrong relationship. There shouldn't be constant thoughts on your mind of how you can change someone else. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve and get better yourself. But if your energy is always focused and you find yourself always thinking about how can you change someone else, you're not in the right place and you're not moving in the right direction, right? Because that continuous thought, that compulsive feeling that you need to change someone or change your relationship is stemming, one, from the unhappiness and all the other aspects that I will continue to mention. Okay, so is that making sense for you guys so far? So number one was unhappiness, one of the number one things contributing to why you're always trying to change your romantic partners. Okay, number two is gonna feel slightly the same, but it's different. We're gonna get detailed on it. Number two, you can't accept them for who they really are. Okay, this is gonna get deep. Okay, so your perfect idea of who they are is fading because you can no longer project onto them the personality that you want them to be. And over time, in getting to know them, you must accept that they are not exactly what you imagine them in your head. But that's very difficult to accept. Okay? In fact, for some of you and for some of us, it's impossible to accept that someone isn't exactly how I envision them in my mind. And they're not the Prince Charming that I read about in my smut book. They're not the Prince Charming that I read about in my Wattpad story. They're not the Prince Charming that I watched in my Disney princess movies. And so you begin trying to force your partner to be more like the guy you were imagining. But then what happens is you end up overlooking their actual personality traits. Okay? So let me break that down. That desire, right? So when you meet a guy, you're so excited that, oh my God, I met you and you're so amazing and this is going to be my love story and you're going to sweep me off my feet and I'm going to be like Cinderella and you're going to find my glass slipper, you're going to put it on my feet and we're going to get married and this is going to be so amazing. Like I'm going to have such a great life. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that and having that. You can have that. But what ends up happening is your focus is so much on that you, instead of you analyzing, are you Prince Charming? You say, no, you are Prince Charming. I'm just going to focus on trying to make you my Prince Charming because I want you to be my Prince Charming. Do you see the difference, right? You can still have your Prince Charming, right? It's very possible. You can still have your amazing relationship. But that doesn't mean that the first guy that comes across you and goes on a date with you and tells you he likes you is your Prince Charming or your Princess Charming. If you're a guy that's watching, right? That doesn't necessarily mean they're the one simply because you want them to be the one. And in the process of you wanting them to be the one so bad, you don't do what's more important, which is for you to sit back, relax, and do your best to learn and understand that person. Okay? You have to allow them to show you who they are. And in the process of that, you need to accept whatever it is they choose to show you as the truth. Because when you can't accept them for who they really are, you'll find yourself in a position where you're constantly trying to change them to fit the mold of who you imagine them or projected them to be. That's why I always tell you guys, what do I always say? I always get angry at you guys for being textaholics. Because being a textaholic is such an easy way to fall into the trap of projecting onto someone a particular personality that you want them to have, that you want them to feel, think, act, respond, right? You text so much and you feel like you're getting to know the person, but what's actually happening is you're projecting a personality onto the pages on the screen and the text on the screen, because you can't actually grasp a personality from the text on the screen. So what do? You make up a personality from the text on the screen. And the longer you go texting that person and not really meeting them in person, the harder that cement dries, because it no longer can mold or take shape into something else, because you've established this personality, these character traits, as the truth, as the person. So you text, and then you get stuck on the idea that this is who you are. You're exactly this. I believe you to be this, like this. You've probably got a supermodel smile, right? You when you laugh, it's probably so cute, right? You're so amazing. You're so generous. You're so kind. And then when you meet them, they've got a crooked smile. They've got yellow teeth. They've got a gap. They're not as attractive. When they laugh, it's kind of disgusting, right? But you're so disappointed in the person that you're meeting, because you spent so much time projecting this particular personality, these particular character traits, and that cement has dried and hardened so much that now when you finally meet the real person, you literally cannot accept it for it being true. And so what do you try to do? Once you meet that person, and you wanted so badly for them to be the person that you imagined them to be, right? You try and change them into that person you were imagining them to be. Okay? And like I said, it's not that people are impossible of changing or improving or growing, but it happens because they want to change, improve, or grow. Not because you force people to change, improve, or grow. And like I said, if you find yourself in a relationship, in a whatever ship, that you're constantly trying to turn them into someone different, then you are in the wrong place. And I know that's true for a good amount of you, because you guys want so badly for the one particular guy that you're thinking of in your mind to act right, to be right, to do right, to treat you right. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to deserve more and be treated better. But what you also have to understand is there comes a certain point where your energy is more focused on trying to turn them into something they're not and have never been than it is on accepting that person for who they are, and then focusing instead of on them, how you can find the person that you are looking for. Because some of you are so stuck on the idea of like, oh, I've got to change this guy into being the person that I need him to be, rather than, hey, I need to figure out how I can attract the person that I actually need into my life. And it'll be very easy for me to identify if they are that or if they're not that. Okay? Right? Because that's all you're trying to do on this. I know for a lot of you guys who are single, even some of you guys watch me and you're in relationships, but for those of you guys who are single and you're meeting people, right? That's all you're trying to do, is you're trying to learn and understand people. Do not get into the habit of meeting people and then immediately trying to change them into something else. You will always, and I'm saying this from my own experience, you will always be disappointed and frustrated. Okay? And like I said, I'm saying this from my own experience in life. Because I used to be just like you, where I meet someone and whatever mold I want them to be, however I want them to fit, maybe I just like them a lot. Maybe I have a lot of feelings for them. And I want them so badly to be the person that I'm seeking. I want to turn them into this particular person. I'll do anything to help them and mold them and force them to change into the way that I want to see them so that they can be the light that I want to see them in, and it can be the way that I want it to be. And I got to cram it in there right as how I want it to be. Right? And I was doing the job backwards. Because you can get what you want. You can have the person that you're looking for. You can have the relationship that you want. But what you have to understand is there's an order that comes to it. You identify what you want first, what your needs are first, what you're looking for first, and then you go out into the world and you figure out what people you come across and meet that fit that criteria. Then you get into the relationship with them. But what a lot of us do, we do it backwards. So we meet people, right? And then we say, oh, I like you a lot. You're a good vibe. I like spending time with you. And then from there, as the relationship is going on the fly, we try to fix them and mold them into what we want and what we need simply because, oh, I met you and I liked you. So now I know that I liked you, but I don't like everything about you. I want to force you to be the type of partner I need you to be, even if you're not ready. Even if you're not mature enough, even if you're not emotionally available or in the right headspace to be that person for me, it's got to be you. So I got to force you. I got to force you into that hole. You got to fit. It's got to be you. You understand what I'm saying? And it becomes a dangerous toxic cycle where you're constantly meeting people, and instead of sitting back and saying, okay, are you the person I'm looking for or not? You're just like, okay, sure, come on. And then now you're trying to, okay, fit. You gotta fit. Okay? That would be like me. Let's say I own a restaurant and I want to hire a chef. Okay? And I need someone to cook, at the restaurant. Let's say I don't know how to cook. I'm just giving this example off top, right? Let's say I don't know how to cook. I'm owner of a restaurant. I want to hire someone to be the head chef that's gonna, serve the dishes at the restaurant. And I go out and I say, you know what? I don't feel like going through all the work of, making sure that whoever I bring in checks off all these different boxes, knows this cuisine, knows that, because that's too much work. I'm just going to bring someone in off the street that's looking for a job, and I'm going to figure out how to make them a chef. So then what happens? I pick someone off the street and I tell them, hey, okay, I needed a chef. You said you were looking for a job. Okay, come work for me in this kitchen and cook some food. And they're like, oh, but I have, like a nose issue where I can't really smell stuff. And, I get sick a lot, so sometimes I can't even taste stuff. I really don't even know what I'm doing in the kitchen. No, don't worry. You're going to be the chef. I was looking for someone to cook. We're going to teach you how to be a chef. And so what ends up happening, I spend a lot more time and energy, right, trying to teach that person how to be a chef, even if they were never equipped to be a chef, to know what they're doing in the kitchen. And so I waste a lot of time and energy when I should have just taken the time beforehand to figure out what type of chef I need, what type of restaurant I'm opening, where it's going to be located, what are the potential people I can find, where can I find them, where should I post the job, what are the most likely or the perfect candidates going to be like. And then by the time even though it takes more energy at the beginning and there's more of a vetting process and I have to do a whole bunch of interviews and I have to say no to some people and I have to go over here and maybe get someone from over here or maybe talk to this person, talk to that person, even though it takes more initial energy to get my final chef, at the end of the day, when I have the chef working in the kitchen, I am happy. Because I don't have to unteach them things. I don't have to reteach them things. I don't have to maneuver around the things that don't work for me or that I don't like, the way he cooks food or how he burns the pasta or whatever he does, right? I can just enjoy the fact that I hired the right person for the job with the right criteria for the job. And for the rest of my life, I get to sit back and be a happy restaurant owner with customers who are also happy. And I never have to hire a new chef ever again because I'm already happy with the person that I hired. You see how that works? It's the same thing for you in your relationships. You can't start backwards from, oh, I meet you, I like you. Okay, let's get we'll get into this relationship. I won't worry about the specifics of whether or not you fit the criteria of the person I'm looking for. We'll figure it out as we go. And then you realize there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work for you in this relationship. So now you're trying to teach someone who was never a chef and never intended to be a chef in the first place. You're trying to teach them how to cook. You're trying to take them to culinary school. You're trying to do all this extra work, and you still end up unhappy because they were never who you were actually seeking in the first place. You just wanted so badly for them to be the person working in that position that you just were constantly trying to force them into that hole, even though they were never going to fit. Right? Life Sucks says, but in our defense, men are so bad. We need to look for potentials. But that's the thing, right? I'm never here telling you guys that there are no good men out there. There are good men out there. Okay? I tell you guys that all the time. This isn't the pity party where we all think that there's no ever going to be any good men out there. There are definitely good men out there the same way there are good women out there. But I will say you do got to do the job of finding them and discovering them. They're not just readily available on the street. Okay? I have to be honest with you with that. Okay? So there is a process to finding the good man. It does take work. You're going to have to sift through some not so good men. And what we're trying to do here, what we're always trying to do here for you, for whether you're a woman or whether you're a man watching me, what we're always trying to do here is help you sift through the garbage so that you can actually find what you're looking for. And we're also trying to help you spend as little time as possible invested into the garbage so that you can spend as much time as possible on what it is that you're looking for. Okay? Because all of you are capable of having the relationship that you want to have. Now, is it going to be like super easy? You're just going to sit back, click your heels 3 times and have it? No. Does it take work? Yes. Does it take a process of vetting? Like the same way in the analogy I just gave you with the chef? Are you going to have to sit down and probably do some interviews? Are you going to have to say no to people? Are you going to have to write down your criteria? Are you going to have to do multiple levels of interviews to understand if someone would be good for the job or where they might slip up or the parts that might not work for you? Are you going to have to take some people through some test training and figure out if they can do the job properly? Yes. And throughout that entire time, what are you doing? You're evaluating each potential candidate, right? And you're evaluating and figuring out, okay, who is going to fit the criteria of what I need? Everyone else will get tossed to the side. And the only people that will make it through that I'll invest my time and energy into are the people who are fitting the criteria of what I need. And remember, like I always say to you guys, none of that requires you to give away your Squirtle. Okay? Because in the process of the evaluation, it's not so much about, oh, never give up your body or whatever, anything like that. It's really more about you need to have the clarity to be able to say to yourself, okay, I'm not going to be so emotionally invested in this situation or this man simply because I slept with him. I'm actually going to have enough clarity to properly determine if this is someone that I want to be with or not. And a lot of times when you jump right into sleeping with someone, it blurs your vision and it blurs your ability to be objective about the situation for 2 reasons. One, because now you've given your mind, body, soul, and spirit to that guy. So obviously you're going to be more inclined to want to, be in a relationship with him. But also 2, because you have invested yourself as much, literally to the extreme, to the most possible limit you can invest yourself into someone, right? It makes it a lot harder to walk away because now you're scared of wasting your time. or wasting the body or wasting the whatever. And so you stay, but you hope that you can change that person into something different. And then the longer you stay, the scarier you are to walk away, even then when you know it's not working how you want it to work, because you've stayed for so long and you spent so much time invested in that person. It's like it just becomes a vicious cycle where the longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. Life Sucks says Squirtle equals oxytocin. I guess, right? Kalir says sunk cost fallacy. Sorry. Is that what that I'm describing is? I didn't even know. Thank you for that. Okay. So number 2, you can't accept them for who they are. I gave you guys the example of the chef, and I feel like that was just off the top of my head. I even had a different example here, but I feel like the chef example really crystallized exactly what that means, right? When you're hiring someone, because remember, you're like hiring someone for a job. That's what it is in this dating world, right? Even in your relationships, you're hiring someone for the job, and you're figuring out who will fill the position properly, figuratively and literally fill the position. Okay. So very important. If you can't accept them, you will find yourself in a position where you're constantly trying to change them. Okay. Now, so number 1 was unhappiness. Number 2 was you can't accept them. Number 3 is you are looking for more. You're looking for more. Now, this one is going to be a little bit touchy, because what I'm about to say is something nobody really wants to admit to. Nobody. But I'm sure most of us have felt at one point or another, maybe not currently, but at one point or another, if you're a grown adult and you've experienced any range of relationships. Okay. So you feel that this person is the best you can do at the time, yet you don't feel they are truly enough for you. Your constant search for better makes you want to change them into your idea of better, that hopefully they will be more like the partner you actually want. You see what I'm saying here? This is why I said it's a little bit touchy, because none of us want to admit that the person that we're with currently or have been with is not what we feel like our destination is, what our absolute best is. Okay. And so we're looking for more, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. So what do we do when we're looking for more? We try to turn that person that we're with into more. So what do I mean by that? Okay, I'll give you guys an example for those of you who are confused, because Bunny World said I don't understand. That's why I give you guys examples. Okay. You've always wanted someone as romantic as you. Let's imagine you want a romantic man, super romantic. We'll do all the stuff that you see people doing on these YouTube couples and these TikTok couples. You want a man that's as romantic as that. You want your Romeo and Juliet story. Let's imagine that. But your partner expresses love in a very subtle and different way from what you've been imagining. Okay? You want more romanticism. So you constantly push him to be more romantic, and both of you end up frustrated. Right? Instead, at the beginning, you should have let him show you if he is the romantic type of guy you were always looking for. Okay? And so when I say looking for more, I know some of you guys think, oh, like better looking, more attractive, more money, more richer. Yes, I'm talking about that. But what I'm also talking about is more in terms of whatever it is that you need. Okay? So it could just be, I want more romanticism in my relationship. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then when you find yourself in a relationship where there's a lot less romanticism, or the romanticism isn't what you envisioned or wanted, that's on you to understand, hey, I know I need this in a relationship. So when I meet these people and I get into these relationships, I need to identify, is this the romantic type of vibe, chemistry, dynamic that I always envisioned? Because if it's not, what's going to happen is I'm always going to be with that person, always thinking about how I can get more out of them, more romanticism out of them, when for the most part, that's not who they are. That's not their personality. Or even if they are a romantic person, they don't show it in the way that I want them to show it. And so what ends up happening, I try to make them more romantic, like how I want them to be. I'm frustrated because it's not working for me. I don't feel the romance in the way I want. They're frustrated because when they do feel that they're showing the romance in the way that they feel works for them, you don't receive it. You don't appreciate it. And so both parties are frustrated, and both parties are trying to make the relationship more of whatever it's not. Right? Very important. Sky said, yeah, he's not a romantic person. Okay. And like I said, it's not this changing people, because we all would love to have our relationships be exactly what you want it to be, exactly how you want. And you can have that. But you also have to be honest with yourself about if the relationship you're currently in is even embodying everything that you really want. Because a lot of times, if it's not, there's a reason for that. And for the most part, people aren't going to change drastically overnight. People are going to change very, very little over a long period of time. And if you're not prepared for that, or if your situation is so intense or so dire that you need that person to make a 180 change overnight, then you're in the wrong relationship in the first place. Because you shouldn't go into a relationship with someone who you feel has character or personality traits that you feel need to be changed overnight, quickly. That's the sign of not being in the right place or with the right person. Okay. Missy America says in the YouTube chat, is it possible to bring that out of them? Like I said, it's not impossible for someone to change. Okay. But there has to be a desire and a willingness for that person to change. And that has to come internally. It's not something you can pull out or force out of someone. They really have to want to make a change for themselves. Okay? And even in that, people are not going to do 180s. That's not how things work. Okay? Like, I know we live in a microwave society where we want everything quick right now. We want everything exactly how we want it right now. We don't want to wait for anything. But the reality of it is that's not how human beings work. So if you're in a place in that relationship where there's an aspect of them that you really need to change so badly, whether it be for you, whether it be for the relationship, whether it be for whatever it may be for, then you're not with the right partner. Because the right partner, you shouldn't be thinking about, oh, how am I going to change this out of you to get this out of you exactly how I want it to be, because what you're doing right now doesn't work for me. Now, I want you to understand in that don't go to an extreme where you feel like, oh, if you do one small thing that I don't like, or you say one small thing that I don't like, then I got to get rid of you because you're not exactly the person that I want. I'm not saying go to that extreme. What I am saying is if you find yourself in a place where the things and the traits about them are so big that you're like, if this doesn't change, I can't be in this relationship, or I can't continue in this relationship, then you're in the wrong relationship. Okay? There's nothing wrong with having fights or issues or ups and downs in the relationship. But if you know there are aspects of it that literally cannot go on, literally must stop, or else this cannot continue to be a relationship, then you're not in the right relationship. Because what you'll end up doing when you stay is you'll end up trying to find all these different 1,000 ways to change someone into something that they never wanted to change into and never intended to change into, and most likely will never change into. Because like I said, people's change, especially as adults, happens gradually over time. They're not going to come to some sort of epiphany and change overnight. And you shouldn't be counting on that. That shouldn't be the thing that you're waiting on, because that's probably where a lot of you guys have made a lot of your mistakes, is waiting on guys to change, and then you're waiting forever. You're waiting forever, just waiting and waiting and waiting and hoping that today will be the day that everything changes for the better, and all of a sudden he's going to turn into Prince Charming overnight and I wouldn't even recognize him from where we used to be. And then you guys ask me, you blame other people or you blame him, and after 1 year, 2 year, 3 years of your life spent waiting for the guy to change, you're like, oh, he wasted my time. He wasted my time because he didn't change, and then I realized that the relationship wasn't going to work out after 3 years. No, you wasted your time. Because once you realized that the relationship was moving in a direction that wasn't sustainable for you, you then must make a decision on, okay, if this doesn't work for me, I'm not going to sit here forcing my energy into trying to change him into something else. I just need to walk away and find the relationship that does work for me. Don't keep yourself in pain, right? And keep yourself, we'll get to it. I don't even want to get there. But you need to identify what it is that's working for you, what it is that's not, and not focus your energy on trying to change them, because they won't. And you'll be frustrated, and so will they. Okay, so number 1 was unhappiness. Number 2 was you can't accept them. Number 3, you are looking for more. So number 4, we have you are trying to stop yourself from hurting. Okay? You're in so much pain because of how he treated you, or her treated you, that you try to change them as a way to heal and stop hurting. Okay? Because the pain you felt from whatever it is, they disrespected you, they mistreated you, they continue to mistreat you, they don't give you what you need, and you feel neglected or used or whatever it may be. Now that pain, you're taking it and you're channeling it into trying to change them so that you no longer feel that pain. But it's so misguided, because the energy shouldn't be put into trying to change them so you don't feel the pain anymore. The energy should be put into identifying why and how they make you feel pain, and then realizing that you need to let go of that relationship in order to stop feeling that pain. It's not continue being in the relationship and force them to change. Because a lot of times, for most of us, if we're in a relationship where we feel so much pain that it's unbearable and we need someone to change, they're usually not in the mindset or the mind state to make any changes. They usually have no intention of changing, which is why the disrespect or the relationship has gone to the point where you feel absolutely mistreated. Okay? They usually have absolutely no intention of changing. So you're in so much pain and you're trying to change that person so you don't feel any more pain, but they don't really have any intention of changing. And I told you guys before, right from the beginning, the only time someone will ever change is when they have the intention to change. Not because you force them to change, not because you beg them to change, not because you put a bullet to their brain and make them change. None of that stuff is going to help you see what you want to see. Okay? Because you try to change him and make him better, quote unquote, instead of only accepting better men into your life. I know I talk so much about, girls and then, the guys, but I know that some guys eventually listen to me. It's the same thing applies, right? Because instead of you only going out into your life and being like, I'm only going to accept the better men, you accept what is lesser than or what works for now because you're lonely. Oh, you see, it all comes back to the same places because you're lonely or you need validation or you need that attention. You want to feel loved by someone else when you should be giving yourself love, right? And because you need that, because you're desperate for that, you accept less than your better. You accept less than your better man. And then you try to turn the lesser man that you accepted just because you wanted attention and love and validation, you try to turn him into the better man. When you should have been holding out and waiting for the better man all along and not wasting your time or energy on the lesser man. Okay? Because at the very beginning, you're not as invested in him. But you say, oh, I do need attention. I do need love. I do need validation. So what do? You let the lesser man come into your life and you're like, okay, show me something. Maybe you can make all this attention and love you give me. Maybe you can become the better man. And then you realize after a while, he's never going to be the better man. But now you're like, I'm stuck now. So what am I going to do? I got to change you into the better man. And so you're frustrated and he's frustrated and everyone's frustrated. Okay? Because, back when you were, and this is a perfect example, okay? Right? I even had another one here, but it just popped into my mind now. Back when you were young and you just wanted someone who would hang out with you and spend all night on FaceTime with you until 4 a.m., talk to you all the time, message you all the time, be a textaholic, right? Just like you, Snapchat you 24/7, keep a 365-day Snapchat streak with you, call you every day, every night, speak to you for hours and hours and hours, spend all of his days with you, leave work for you, cancel events for you, rearrange his entire schedule for you and around you. Back when that was what you wanted, right? And what was amazing for you when you were young, you get into a relationship with that guy instead of analyzing what do I actually need in a husband and in a man. And then you find yourself in a relationship with a man who doesn't want to do anything in it with his life except hang out with you. And now you're 35, still with that man, but instead of it being so amazing that he'll call you and spend every night with you, he's, living at your house, not paying any bills, and you're trying to motivate him to get off of his butt and do something with his life. Okay? And now after the fact, you're trying to change him into what you need when you should have identified what you need in the first place and filled the voids and the gaps in yourself that you were feeling that would lead you to make a decision on a man who wasn't actually going to benefit you in the future. Okay? You have to be whole within yourself, validate yourself, have confidence in yourself that you're not accepting the lesser men into your life and then you're scrambling, trying to change those lesser men into the better man when you shouldn't have even been focusing your time and energy on the lesser men. Because I know the lesser man is not actually what you're seeking. What you're seeking was the validation and the attention. That's what you were seeking. But because you wanted that so badly, you accepted the lesser man. That's why I always say that it starts with you, because you can get what you want. You can attract the men that you want, but there's patience involved, right? There's patience involved. You have to be willing to hold your water and not just jump on the first guy who shows you some attention. You have to know what it is that you're looking for so that You're not moved or shaken by the first guy who will love bomb you or say, "Oh, let's be together." I know. I as soon as I saw as soon as I saw your booty shaking in those nice tight pants of yours, I knew that I wanted to make you my wife. And you're like, "Oh my God, finally a guy who will give me attention and validate me and make me feel like I'm so amazing." Even though logically it doesn't make sense that you would just see me and know that you wanted to make me your wife. That seems like it's more based on the physical. But let me not think about that. It must be that you saw how amazing of a wife I am from a distance without knowing me. Okay? And I say that not to be mean to you guys, but I want you guys, like I always say, to understand what's happening underneath the surface. Right? When you're hurting, you're going to try your best to stop hurting, as we all would. But then in the process of that, rather than leaving the situation, you're going to be trying to change the person into someone who they are not and have never been. I also had the example here, let's say you're in a relationship with the guy who cheated on you. So now you try to turn him into an open book who will show you everything, tell you everything, show you every message, right? Send you all of his passwords, let you log into his Snap, his IG, see his DMs. In the end, excuse me, in the end, he only ends up continuing to be the same person you met at the beginning. And probably cheats on you again. Not all guys, but some. But that hurt, that pain, you want so badly to get rid of that. But rather than just walking away, you're so invested, right? You're so invested and you don't want to walk away from it because you're like, "Oh, but I've spent so much time in this relationship. How can I walk away now?" And so you instead try to change that man into something he truly never wants to or intended to change, right? Because there's a difference between your man cheating on you and saying, "Okay, have the passwords to my stuff. Okay, I want to make this better. I want you to feel good. I'm going to call you this day. I'm going to call you that. I'm going to do everything I can to make this situation better." There's a difference between that and you finding out that he cheats on you and then you giving him all his rules and regulations on things he's got to change about himself so that this relationship can work. And that's never what he wanted to do or intended to do. Because what happens after that is he's just going to hide from you whatever he's doing and continue being the person that he's always been. Meanwhile, you're over here trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Or is it a round hole into a square peg? I don't know. One of the two. Right? Kalira says in the TikTok chat, she says they even begin to resent you for it. 100%. People will resent you for trying to force them to change. They will resent you 100% of the time. Because even if they do make a change, they'll know that it wasn't genuine to them or how they felt or what they wanted. They'll know that they didn't even do it for you. They did it because of you. They didn't do it themselves for you because they wanted to. They did it because you made them change. Okay? Right? Life Sucks says, did my skincare routine while listening. That's awesome. Okay? So number 1 was unhappiness. Number 2 was can't accept them for who they are. Number 3 was looking for more. Number 4 was to stop hurting. And number 5, you are in denial. Sad to say, but that is most of you. Okay? In denial. And it relates to the stuff, like I said before, the unhappiness and not being able to accept someone. And that denial that you're struggling with is forcing you to constantly trying to get them to change instead of accepting them. And this can be a bad thing in multiple ways. Obviously, I described to you guys about how it's bad because it doesn't give you the opportunity to learn people. But it also is super unfair to the people that you're in a relationship with. because they never get to feel good enough. They never get to feel worthy. They never get to feel like anything they do is the right thing. There's always something that's not working. There's always a reason that you're unhappy. There's always a reason that you're unfulfilled. When that should have been the alarm bell going off in your mind at the very beginning. That's why this applies to guys and girls, because both ways, right? Guys also find themselves in relationships with girls where they're trying to change that girl into something she's never been. That's why they make the that's why they have the saying, don't try to turn a hoe into a housewife. Okay, that's no diss to you. I'm not saying you're a hoe, but I'm saying that's where that terminology or that idea, that concept comes from. Don't try to take someone who's always been something, and then now that you're with them, you expect them to change into something that they've never been. Okay? Don't meet a guy in the club and then expect him to never go to the club again because you guys are in a relationship. Don't meet a guy at the bar who every weekend goes out drinking and that's how you met him, to stop going to the bar magically when you guys get into a relationship, or you're trying to turn him into a man who stays inside and cooks with you every afternoon or every weekend, when that's not how you met him. People aren't going to do a 180 on you. Okay? Morgan says Hinge is the same way. You know, ironically, and this is how well I really like listen, because ironically, the people who are serial date appers, right? Like always on the dating apps, always, you know what I mean? Talking to people on the dating apps. Those are the people that find it the hardest to delete or get rid of the dating apps when they finally start talking to someone. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that. Let me know in the chat if you've ever noticed that. The people who are the heaviest on the dating apps find it the most difficult to get rid of the dating app when they're finally in a relationship or in a talking stage. Right? But then if you think about it, what do you expect? When you met them, they were heavy on the dating app. When you met them, that's how they were talking to most of their people. That's how they got to know you. And so now you're expecting that, oh, we're together now, or we met now, so I expect that you'll never open a dating app ever again. Really? Is that what you expect? This is why I always advise you guys to get away from, not that I hate to demonize dating apps because they're not the worst thing ever, but that's why I always advise you guys to get away from dating apps and meet people in places that you think are appropriate and you would like to see them in many more times, right? If you can meet someone in a place that you guys share some sort of passion or doing something that you're both passionate about, well, then you never have to worry about what that person is about because they're about the same thing that you're about and it works for your relationship. But when you meet a guy in a bar or a club and you know you don't want a guy who goes out to the bar and the club every weekend, well, then what are you doing? You're inviting someone into your life. Remember how I gave you guys the example of trying to hire a chef for my restaurant, and I take someone off the street and I try to turn them into a chef, and I'm angry when they're not a good cook. Don't meet a guy at a bar. You're looking for a chef. You bring him into your kitchen, and then you're angry that he can't cook. You're angry that the guy you met at the bar wants to go out on the weekends, and now you're trying to change him into something that he's not. You end up frustrated. He ends up frustrated. Everyone ends up frustrated. Right? Pro tip, I would advise you to, and I'm not saying that, okay, if you find someone in the bar or the club, that means they're a horrible person and you should never consider them or anything like that. Like I said, we don't live our life on extremes, but I just want that to be a concept that replays in your mind. You should be striving to meet the man of your dreams, your husband. You should be striving to meet him in a place where you would like to see him in again many times, even when you guys are in a relationship. Okay? So if you're meeting a guy in a place where you wouldn't want to see him there plenty of more times, then Rethink that. Rethink that. Because how you meet people is who they are. And I'm not saying that good guys never go to the club. I'm just saying that to give you an understanding of the concept, right? Accept people for who they are. Don't be looking to meet people and then figure out how you can change them into what you want them to be. Figure out how you can find the person that you were looking for all along. I see a lot of you guys are dissing dating apps. I seen SH say earlier, I'm never using a dating app again. I just, like I said, I hate to demonize something like that because I know the intention is there, but I also know from a guy's perspective how most guys are using dating apps. I'm just going to be so super real with you. And maybe this week we'll have a whole conversation about dating apps and etiquette on dating apps and all that good stuff, and we'll go into detail on it. I just know how most guys are using it nowadays. It's like an extension of the club or the bar. It's crazy. It's literally like an extension of the club and the bar. It's just the digital version. And they have to put in a lot less work because when you swipe when you swipe right on them, they can ensure that you at least find them attractive. They can also ensure what you're looking for, so it makes it a lot easier for them to just feed you whatever they know that you want to hear generically and then extract from you whatever they want. They can systemize it. I hate to make it sound horrible, but I'm telling you the honest truth from not just my own experience, but even having guy friends. I know how they go about the dating apps, right? The guys who are actually like the serial dating app guys, they know how to systemize it. They know the type that they like. They know what to feed them. They know how to feed it to them, right? And there's no real vetting process. They also know because a lot of these girls are textaholics and they're going to build your personality based on what you text them. So you can get them to believe in a lot of things very easily over that text or over that dating app. You meet them, you just have to be nice enough for like the first week. One date, maybe 2, maximum 3, and you're good. You'll get what you want, which is their Squirtle, and then you can move on to the next girl on the next dating app. And it's a very easy way. Remember, it's like an extension of the bar. It's a very easy way to just get a lot of girls really quickly and then to keep a rotating list of different girls that you would actually have to go out to the bar every weekend and be able to have a good amount of decent game on the spot. You'd have to be confident and charismatic in order to at least be able to have a roster of girls like that. But now you can be more systematic about it. Swipe right, swipe left. You already know that they like you, the ones that swiped right on you. Now it's just about doing your little system and your little game to extract what you want. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's true. Like I said, maybe one day we'll get into dating apps a little bit more in depth, but that's the truth, right? And so being in denial hurts you so much because no matter what someone shows you, you do not want to believe it. You literally don't want to believe it. You force yourself to not believe it, even though it's the truth. It's the truth. Okay. For example, he's a player. And he's played every girl in the past, every past relationship. You've heard about it, or you've seen it, or he's told you about it. But now that you like him, or you're getting to like him, you're convincing yourself it will be different with you because somehow your magic Squirtle, the wetness of your Squirtle, the grip of your Squirtle, your mind, your amazing beauty, your charisma, your awesomeness will change him into something he has never been for his entire life. And that is truly very misguided. Okay? Because no matter how wet your Squirtle is, no matter how much grip there is, no matter how awesome you are as a person, people will only change because they want to change and they intend to change, not because you force them to change, not because your Squirtle has so much grip. It's just the truth. And the longer you spend in denial, the more frustrated you become And the more time you waste trying to change someone instead of being honest with yourself about if this relationship is even working for you. Because for a lot of you, the relationship's not even working for you. And that's why you're stuck on trying to change them every which way into what you want them to be, but they're just not that. Okay? They're just not that. And if someone's not what you need them to be for what you need in a relationship, then you need to stop wasting your own time and walk away. Okay? Walk away. Now, do you guys have any questions as it relates to the topic? Those were the 5. So we had number 1 was unhappiness. Number 2, you can't accept them for who they are. Number 3, you're looking for more. Number 4, you're trying to stop hurting. And number 5, you are in denial. Octopus says, your dating life improves drastically the second you stop giving the benefit of the doubt. I 100% agree. You got to stop going out there and giving people the benefit of the doubt. You just have to allow them to show you who they are. And that doesn't mean, listen, you don't have to go out into life with a pessimistic mindset where you're just like, oh, you're going to play me. Oh, you're going to go behind my back. Oh, you're scheming. Oh, you're a bad person. Da, 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 da. I'm not saying that you have to go out into your life like that. But what you do need to go out into your life with is an unbiased view and perspective of people as much as you possibly can, right? Understand that as you become more emotionally invested in someone, your bias is going to shift towards wanting to see them in a particular light. But you also, if you can identify that bias as much as you possibly can, keep the perspective of, okay, I still need to let you show me who you are. Right? Not just be trying to force you to be someone else. Right? Someone said ultimatum is not an option. I don't want to force him. I see. And the funny thing is, I actually love the show. You guys should watch it on I'm blanking, Netflix. The Ultimatum is a great show, and I love the show because I feel like that's the most realistic dating and relationship show that they have on Netflix. But one of the reasons I think it's so interesting is because you get a real sense of what forcing someone to change really does to the relationship. And it's funny because if any of you have watched The Ultimatum, or if any of you have, you should. I advise you to, because it's actually a cool show. It's way more in depth than like Too Hot to Handle and those other ones. Those are like just popcorn flicks. But one of the reasons I really enjoy it is because you really get a sense in real time of how impossible it is to change someone's like mind towards something unless they go through something that makes them change their own mind. And funny enough, for most of the people on the show, the only ones that end up changing their mind towards whatever the ultimatum was are people that experience something like, oh, they see that their partner is getting a lot of attention from other people, or they see that their partner might not be as interested in them, or they see, something drastic that turns a switch in their brain, and they go, oh, no. I want to make a change now. I see the light now. You understand what I'm saying? But it's still internal, because once they make the switch, it becomes very easy to make the change because they wanted to make the change. And so you see couples come back together, and then, they have totally different mindsets and approaches to the relationship because internally they have changed. But some of you are sitting around and you're hoping and praying that person will change, when a lot of times there is no event or drastic measure you can make to make someone change internally. They literally have to do that and experience that on their own. And even on the show, there's a lot of people that end up not changing and realize that they're happy with the decision that they made, or they know what they want, and they're not going to capitulate to the ultimatum. And so some of them realize that this just isn't the relationship for them, and then they break up. Right? Lisa says, is that enough though, or will they go back to the old ways once they get what they want? Well, that's the thing. When you force someone to change into who you want them to be, they're definitely going to go back to who they want to be. That's why you have to let people show you who they are, and focus more of your attention or your time on just accepting that. So if you know that the person that they are is something or someone you can't accept for a long-term serious relationship, then that's not the relationship for you. Octopope says, I don't want someone I'd have to change because I'll be forced to regulate his behavior about it forever. Exactly. You guys shouldn't even want to stress yourself. Relationship, I understand relationships go through ups and downs, but relationship shouldn't be this constant stress where you're trying to get someone to change, trying to fix their behavior, trying to look after them. Like, even a dog, you don't train a dog forever, right? You train a dog at the beginning. It figures out what the difference between right and wrong is. And then from there, you don't have to train the dog ever again. Okay? So your relationship shouldn't be a constant process of you trying to change someone, adjust their behavior, look after the behavior, make sure they don't do this, make sure that's not, you can't be that forever. You're literally going to stress yourself out. You're literally going to stress yourself out. And I think for some of you guys, you're so bored with your own life that you're actively seeking for the relationship that will stress you out the most. That's a different topic for another day. But truthfully, I think for some of us, we are so bored with our own life, truly, that we are actively looking for the relationship that will stress us out the most. Because what does that do? It takes up the most amount of our time, attention, and brain power. And so we feel like we're alive. We feel like we're living. We feel like, we wake up and there's stuff to do, right? I got to figure this out. I got to be Sherlock Holmes. I got to see who he's following. I got to see what girls he's liking pictures of. I got to figure out this scenario and figure out this lie and uncover this secret, right? And so the process of having to do all that investigating is more interesting than your boring life because you haven't been investing any time into yourself. So your life just feels boring and uneventful. And so you want the stress of having to chase after that man all the time. That's another topic for another day. Very deep though. It's true. Right? Let's see. I want to read what Bree said. She said, when they do something you don't like, is it best to bring it up and see if they continue doing it? My advice to you is not don't communicate with people, right? If someone, let's say you're dating someone or talking to someone, and obviously in the process, like you guys are going to get a better understanding of how you guys go about stuff. Let's say they do something you really don't like. Let's say he calls you like the B word or something while you guys are in a fight. A bit extreme. I'm just giving an example. You let him know very clearly, yo, I don't appreciate how you spoke to me when you were upset. I don't tolerate that. And that's not something I'm going to allow to continue to happen. So if you know that's you, let me know right now because I'm not going to be in the business of allowing you to continue to call me the B word whenever you're upset or all types of names whenever you're upset. Cool. You've made it clear. Now he understands what you expect and what you won't accept. Now, if he continues to do it after that, you know that is not something he's willing to or capable of adjusting. Okay? You give someone one, maybe two opportunities to make it clear to them you don't appreciate that behavior. If that behavior continues after that, there is no intention on their part of changing it at that point. And so after that, after the second time of you telling them and addressing the behavior and they continue it, you should either realize that if you're not willing to accept it, that you got to leave, or if it's not that big a deal to you, then just accept it and realize that's going to continue on forever. Because the idea that you're going to tell someone on the 5th and the 6th and the 7th and the 8th time, and that's the time they're going to understand and make a change. No. If they don't have that internal intention of actually doing better and growing and stopping that behavior or adjusting that behavior, they won't. Right? Octopope says, if it's a behavior that's a deal breaker for me, I don't communicate it to me. You should communicate it to you. If it's deal breaker behavior, let them know, give them, because I'm not of the belief that you shouldn't give people an opportunity to grow and adjust and try and make a change if they want to, but you give them the option to. If they can't make a change after you address it and you're clear about it and you communicate on it, because that's what relationships are. It's problem solving, majority of it. And if they can't come to an understanding with you and adjust the behavior, and it's a deal breaker for you and you've made it clear, then go about your day. I just don't like the idea of not giving someone a chance to fix or adjust the behavior. Because sometimes the reality of it is sometimes we all come from different walks of life and situations and even different relationships. Some things that might have flown past under the radar in your past relationship that maybe your ex didn't address might be something that's a deal breaker for this new person. And so there's an adjustment period where both people have to come to an understanding. Yo, I don't play this. I don't play that. You don't do this. You don't do that. Everything else we can compromise on. You understand what I'm saying? I kind of missed some of the YouTube chat. Amber says that's why dating apps are trash. I agree. Missy America says, I've asked all my guy friends and they all said the same about the dating apps. Yeah. And they hate waiting for women to reply. I told you, it's like dating apps are crazy. It's like social media, like the dopamine of social media combined with like the validation of like someone liking you or flirting with you. You know what I mean? Because the swipe right is an automatic, like, okay, I like you. I think you're attractive. So that's already a dopamine hit in itself. And then on top of that, knowing that someone is into you, right? So it's a lot of quick hits and you can just do things so much faster with a lot less skill. And so you get a lot more lower quality men that approach you because the barrier of entry is a lot lower. Madison in the YouTube chat said, what if they seem interested but can't really take action? We met through Hinge, but we found out we work at the same job. Oh my gosh. Recently, I've given him a few rides home. What? He says he likes me though, and is consistent. He doesn't have a car, but I do want to give him a hint that I prefer dates. That's an interesting situation that you're in, Madison. Now, by the way, guys, that's Madison over in the YouTube chat that said that story. That's an interesting situation that you're in. You know, maybe actually one of the things that I wanted to do, because that's an interesting situation. How would you guys feel? Because this will be a really good gauge, actually. We can start with Madison. How would you guys feel if tomorrow or sometime this week we did something with the Discord where I have people like live call in and you'll be able to hear them coming from Discord? They'll just be like in the live chat. You'll be able to hear them like they called in. They'll ask their question, they'll explain their story, and then I can answer it live on air. You won't see their face or anything like that, but you'll hear them like it would be a radio call. You know, like on the radio station where they call in and stuff like that and they ask questions, because I can do that on Discord. I can do that on Discord for you guys. And I'll put in the Discord, for those of you who are on joining me from TikTok, all you have to do is go onto my bio and the Discord link, right? To the Discord link. I called it the Players Club. And the Discord link is in my bio. You can join the Discord. And we actually have such an amazing volunteer that's volunteered to help be a moderator in the Discord and like shape it and make it cool and interesting for everyone. We have Life Sucks, who has helped me make the Discord nice and presentable so that everyone can kind of understand what's going on and it looks, good. So if you guys can, first of all, everyone in the live chat, say thank you, Life Sucks. Okay? I want her to change her name to Life's Great, but still, I want everyone in the chat and YouTube and on TikTok to say thank you, Life Sucks, because she is who made the Discord look presentable. It's not me. I'm not taking credit for that. Okay. So everyone say thank you to her, and please go and join the Discord. So go and join the Discord, become a member of the Discord, because there we're going to be able to do some really, really cool stuff. We're going to be able to kind of like, it's already a conversation here, but I'm going to be able to have some of you guys call in. I can even have multiple of you guys call in and give your 2 cents on things or talk about your specific situations so that we can all, right, all get a chance to share our opinion and our viewpoint. Okay, so the link is in my bio on TikTok and also on YouTube. I just put the link to the Discord in the live stream chat, so you guys can go and join the Discord from there as well. Also, Missy America was giving me some really great ideas for the Discord as well. So any of you guys who are like really Discord savvy, I would advise you, please send me a message, join the Discord and then send me a message on there so that I can see it, and then you can help me make it really interesting for you guys, because I want to make it as good as I possibly can for you guys. And you know what we'll do, since I seen that you guys all replied that you guys wanted that, Madison, if you could join the Discord, we'll hold off on answering your question for now, and I want you to join the Discord, and tomorrow or the next day, or this week sometime, we're going to do your question live on the air. You're going to like call in and then you'll ask your question, and we'll do this like really nice for everyone so that they can have like a really nice experience, and you as well. You can get your question answered in detail, because that's a really interesting story actually. I don't think I've ever heard a story like that. So we'll have Madison be the first person to call in, and we'll answer her question for her live on air. And for those of you who also want your situation answered, if you have a crazy situation or just a circumstance you're not sure how to go about it, please join the Discord, because that's going to be the new way where we allow people to call in, tell their story, and then, you know, I have a good conversation about it, and we can all learn from what each other are going through. Okay, so please join the Discord. Like I said, everyone, please show your appreciation for Life Sucks, because she is the amazing one that made it so presentable and nice for everyone that you can join and be happy in the Discord. Okay, very, very important. Okay, for those who say action can't be completed, copy and paste it in the Safari. Yes. So if it says action can't be completed, like Life Sucks says, copy and paste it into the Safari app so that it can properly open. All right. So that's the show for today. Madison, please join the Discord so that you can call in for your situation. I really want to do that for you, because that's a really interesting situation you have. Yes, that's the show for today. If you guys have a personal question for me, go ahead and ask it on Instagram. If you guys missed this part of the live stream or any part of any future live streams, make sure to go over onto my YouTube and you can rewatch the live stream in its entirety. This will be available as soon as it ends, and you can rewatch it in its entirety. Also, make sure to subscribe to me on there if you're not already subscribed to me. I will be on back tomorrow at 4 p.m. exactly 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'll see you then. We'll have more conversation. I'm going to be active in the Discord as well, because I'm sure it's going to be even more lively in there. Feel free to have any conversations or bring up anything that you guys want into the Discord. I read all the messages in the Discord, and it's a much better way of me filtering, you know, you guys are really invested in the show, so that I know you guys are really invested in the show. I take all of your opinions very seriously. All the people that just be randomly commenting on my TikTok videos that aren't really part of the show and don't really spend any time with me, I don't care about them. This is a great way for me to know you guys are actually paying attention, and I want to make sure I'm catering to your needs. Okay, so very important that you guys join the Discord so I know you're like a day zero, like a real one. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, or morning, and I will speak to you again very, very soon. I love you so much, and I will talk to you later. Okay, bye for now.